Who get a seriously bad rep as emotionless murder bots, the Transformers have always had very human personalities. It's their relatability that has held people's imaginations since the 1980s. Fans have genuinely cared about them and their stories over the last 3 decades. And while professional pyromaniac and world destroyer Michael Bay has brought the Autobots and the Decepticons to the big screen, most longtime fans have had their hearts closely aligned with the so-called Generation 1 Transformers. Of course, there are still hundreds of heroic Autobots and evil Decepticons to choose from. Some have cool combining powers where they form uber powerful superbots. Others have aliens called Nebulons who transform into their heads, weapons, or engines, giving them serious upgrades. But when it comes to the best Autobots, it's hard to choose a sample. However, looking at their power levels, status among fans, overall coolness, and various other factors, here are the 10 most popular Autobots ranked. Before we start, if you guys find this video interesting, please let us know by smashing the like button. And if you enjoy the content on our video playlist and want to see more, just click subscribe. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell to get the latest updates. Number 10. Blur. The fastest bot ever to join the forces of good before the war, Blur was, unsurprisingly, a racer before the Cybertronian Civil War broke out. His incredible skills on the racetrack made him incredibly popular off it, and Blur eventually came to place his entire self-worth into becoming a racer. Things sort of fell apart when the war came and Blur saw the bombing destroy the racetrack where he worked. Blur found himself cornered by both the Autobots and the Decepticons, and nearly went the other way until a firefight cost him the lives of 2 of his friends. Not long after that, Blur decided instead to don the Autobot badge, believing he would find a much higher purpose working for them. Number 9. RODIMUS Prime. Idealistic and egotistical to a fault, RODIMUS started out completely unaffiliated at the beginning of the war. Turned off by Zeta Prime's twisted and authoritarian way of ruling and the Decepticons' terrorist behavior, he avoided both sides and spent time as a part of the third faction until convincing Optimus to finally turn against Zeta. RODIMUS had enough of witnessing violence that was done to his fellow bots. His tendency towards rash action combined with his desire to make a greater impact on society had led him to drag his own troops into several dicey situations. Still, RODIMUS has done something that few other bots on this list can even imagine. After the matrix of leadership was stolen by the Decepticons, he went on a quest to get it back, and even became its shepherd for a time until he could return it to Optimus Prime. And while his mission wasn't executed perfectly, in doing so he was able to garner respect from Optimus and earn the right to change his name from Hot Rod to RODIMUS. Number 8. Grimlock. Grimlock is a terrifying opponent for anyone, bot or con, largely because it's hard to tell what side he's actually on, except for his Dinobot squadron. Grimlock made his first appearance in the original cartoons after being built by the other Autobots. He wanted to give Dinosaur Alt Mode some new comrades. After being created, the Dinobots wound up attacking the other Autobots, and it was only after they saved Optimus and the others from the Decepticons that they were officially welcomed into the Autobot forces. Since he and Megatron get along worse than he and Optimus, Grimlock ran back with the Autobots fairly quickly. Number 7. JETFIRE or SKYFIRE. One of the most consistent characterizations about JETFIRE is that he always starts out having joined or nearly joined the side of the Decepticons. Believing Cybertronians should be allowed to follow their own desires rather than spend their lives working for someone else's purpose. He went far enough as to attack Optimus before being brought out on the case and learning the truth about the duplicitous nature of the Decepticons. One of the few flies in the Autobot army, JETFIRE is an invaluable combatant and still one of the smartest soldiers Optimus has working for him. His intelligence helped him to bring down Thunderwind after Bludgeon revived him, keeping Cybertron from being consumed by the Decepticon that had already destroyed the homeland once. Number 6. Ironhide. Ironhide began as a member of the Cybertronian civil militia until he eventually joined the security services. As such, Ironhide was one of the first bots to run into the Decepticon resistance before it turned into an all-out civil war. Of all of Prime's earliest soldiers, Ironhide is the most equipped for battling cons. Not in strategy, but when it comes to a combination of raw power and willingness to get his hands dirty, few can surpass Ironhide. He was there alongside Optimus when they battled the gigantic Decepticon, and he played as much a part in teaching Optimus how to be a warrior as much as Cup did in teaching him how to be a leader. He's even nearly got himself killed protecting Optimus, something which proves how much he believes in the Autobot leader. Number 5. Prowl. The strategist of the Autobot army. As one might expect of the Autobot whose alt mode was a police car, Prowl began his life on Cybertron as a part of the forensics division. Prior to the war, Prowl had little to no combat experience and was nearly killed chasing down a murderer when he was saved by Orion Pax, the bot that would eventually become Optimus Prime. Like many Autobots who were around prior to the start of the war, Prowl was a part of Cybertron's security services, and the increasingly violent actions of the Decepticons made him more devoted to the Autobot cause. Number 4. Drift. When Drift was the Decepticon Deadlock, he was highly ranked in Megatron's army. Working alongside the Cons, Deadlock became a master of long-range weaponry and a reputation as a legendary fighter. But after spending some time with the neutral Cybertronians, known as the Circle of Light after millions of years working as a Decepticon, Drift came to realize how far away from their ideals his army had drifted. He spent time training with the Circle of Light, learning how to fight in close combat and use swords, and eventually came around to work with the Autobots. Though, the sudden change of heart isn't necessarily trusted by all the Autobots who watched Drift kill their comrades as Deadlock, he's still one of the most deadly assets working for the good guys now. Number 3. Jazz. As a member of Optimus Prime's inner circle, Jazz has been fighting the Decepticons since the very beginning. He started out working with security services, but when the Civil War broke out, he was one of the first to fight off the Decepticons. And unlike many characters on this list who only took fighting because the whole planet was falling apart as a result of the Civil War and not choosing a side simply wasn't an option, Jazz is actually a great fighter. Through tricks, weapons, and good old hand-to-hand combat, he single-handedly beat down several of the Decepticons and held down the leader until he could get some reinforcements. After some quite good fights, Jazz spent a lot of time working special ops missions for the Autobots, so he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. Number 2. Bumblebee. As one of Optimus Prime's oldest subordinates and worked alongside Optimus Prime for years, Bumblebee is everyone's favourite yellow Autobot. Worked as a courier long before the Decepticon war ripped apart Cybertron, Bumblebee was eventually dragged into the conflict when a Decepticon transmission tricked him into delivering a package to a factory that turned out to be a bomb. Bumblebee took up with Optimus Prime's group. From then on, even became the leader of the Autobots multiple times when Prime was sidelined or captured. Before showing you the most popular Autobots in the Transformers series, here are some honorable mentions of some impressive and memorable characters that deserve commendation. Number 1. Optimus Prime. The most iconic Transformer of all time, Optimus Prime is the definite Autobot and the one that others aspire to be. Fearless, intelligent, and inspirational, Optimus Prime is the supreme commander of the Autobots in most iterations. His iconic red and blue color scheme, as well as the ability to turn into a truck, is rarely altered across the various comic books, movies, and animated shows. It's become something of a cliche that Optimus Prime dies in pretty much every version of Transformers. But it's often these sacrifices that show his true courage. The fact that he will continue to fight the good fight, even when he cannot survive, is one of the many reasons others will follow him wherever he will lead. In the Transformers universe, filled with giant, powerful, and almost godlike robots competing for power, it can be difficult to determine who the strongest and most powerful Transformers are. Through the years, many new characters that are strong and aesthetically cool, making fans want more, and couldn't wait for the release of the cool merchandise. This popular show was a great support in inspiring kids to become creative and just enjoy their childhood days. Were you guys surprised by our top 10 popular Autobot characters? What are the best moments you remember from the Transformers series? Who's your favourite character from Transformers? Please shout it down in the comments and let us know why. And also, if you want to give your family a surprise gift for any special occasion, you can always check out our website and look for creative and adorable gifts. This has been Music Chess, your Cybertron news source, signing out.